Yes.
Food packaging tax that's baked right into the cost of every meal. So while Canadians are skipping meals, these Liberals are feasting on new taxes. Will the Prime Minister stop cooking up new hidden costs and scrap his food packaging tax so Canadians can...
Mr. Speaker, one thing we know about the Conservatives is that they don't know shame. You know what?
Yesterday from the Prime Minister really freaked these Conservatives out because they saw the ambition in that speech. And not only did they see it in that speech today, as the Prime Minister stood with the Premier investing in new nuclear to ensure the jobs of today and the future, they know that
The only thing that's revolting are those answers.
Speaker, there's no lessons from these Conservatives. Trust me on that.
It's too bad that that minister didn't write the Prime Minister's speech yesterday, because it wouldn't have bored and depressed to tears all of those poor students stuck in that room. There he spoke about how they would have to sacrifice more and that it would take time to reverse all of the misery that has built up over the last 10 years. Mr. Speaker, young people want to have homes. They want to have jobs. They want to have hope. They want a budget that is affordable so they can have a life that is affordable. Will the Prime Minister introduce that budget so that Canadians can restore the promise of the country?
People in Canada know that this government has their back. It'll be a powerful statement for the young people of Canada.
Driving inflation. The more Liberals spend, the more it costs Canadians at the grocery store. 25% of Canadians are using food banks because they can't afford to eat. So when will the Prime Minister finally get his inflationary deficits under control so Canadians can put food on the table?
Mr. Speaker, Conservative members pretend to care about food insecurity, but then they call feeding children garbage.
Now, Mr. Speaker, what's garbage was that answer?
Did the Prime Minister see the ad before it went up?
Hey, of course there are too many people living in poverty in Canada, but there are significant initiatives being put in place by this government.
Being serious means being honest and telling Canadians.
Canada's economy is in fact growing, Mr. Speaker.
Food packaging tax that's baked right into the cost of every meal. So while Canadians...
Almost did it again. Welcome. Welcome to Occam's Razor. This is the no answer period, where we cover the question period, prefaced by a review of the far left evil that has beset our land and other events. Other stuff that goes on around Canada every other day over the past week, and sometimes some things that are happening on this planet or off this planet that might even be of concern to Canadians. So we usually cover this about 45 minutes before the question period, and we'll keep doing this until the lower house stops showing up for work. We're streaming on 3 platforms, Rumble, X, and YouTube, or YouTube. So please give us a thumbs up, like, follow, subscribe. Most of all, the chat is up, so please leave a comment. Chat is up in Rumble. And please feel free to ask anything. Keep it clean, don't be abusive, and if you are, I don't really care. Comments drive the algorithm when I'm not driving it down with my own words. So we will get to what is happening so far. Today, Veterans Affairs Committee was sitting this morning, and we put out a quick video on that because part of it really personally affects me. And yeah, so there was something that was said near the end of that video, and wouldn't you know it, just before the stream started, I got a call. So in relation to that video. And we will play that video as the outro after the question period sits later in the stream. So let us get on with our storytelling. First off, right now, what we'd like to do is remind everyone that, well, our journalism in Canada is government controlled, right? They pretty well control what you are going to see, hear, and say. Oh, I see you still have my bug up. Bug scorecard. Let's fade that out. There we go. Right, so you're watching TV, you're reading a newspaper, you're listening to journalists, you're listening to the talking heads on TV, give you their opinion like it's Canada's opinion. Qualified Canadian Journalism Organization. These guys should be wearing armbands, you know, telling us who their paymasters are, because they are not independent. And also a reminder, folks, since 2019, the Liberals removed a law that prevented journalists from lying to you. That's right, if they were caught lying prior to that, well, they could be charged. They could be charged for lying, for providing disinformation. But now the Liberals have made providing disinformation legal through this Qualified Canadian Journalism Organization. So just remember that when they keep repeating those tales of misinformation and disinformation from the COVIDity stupidity years. Well, the Universal Ostrich Farm, let's do a quick refresh here. It's getting really depressing. As we know, there's not much more that can be done because the judges ruled that they must be culled. And there has been a live feed recently. And our only real go-to source for a lot of the information who's been covering it and on top of the story every day has been David, here at David Creighton with Creighton's Right. And yes, it looks like, well, we've all had to move on and until the next property seizure by the globalists on behalf of the Liberals, who just stood by and watched this destruction happen. I'm sure there's going to be more to this story follow up, but if we don't cover it after today, you'll know why. It's because, aside from it all being rather depressing, at this point now, it's like it's all done except for the wickedness. Now our ID card, digital ID in the UK, they've had their petition up for weeks now, and they haven't reached 3 million. And from yesterday to today, it looks like they've like 3 more signatures. Well, the UK's toast. Mark Carney ruined their economy before he left there as banker, right? Getting them all involved in the same green scam BS that he's dragging Canada into with all his legislation, right? All these things that you keep hearing about how they're going to give money to this company or that company to support them, those all come with caveats, right? Those all come with caveats that they have to use part of that money to continue to fund the green scam, right? Oh, we're going to help you out. Yeah, we'll give you some money, but part of that money has to be allocated towards ensuring that we're diversity, equity, green scam, climate, gender compliant, and that no feminists or Indigenous people will be harmed in the reading of handing out of the money and all that stuff. Because for them, it's not about actually helping people. It's about virtue signaling and ensuring that their ideological message continues to be pushed, which is why they need this digital ID in the UK, because really it's just a final control mechanism, which is why so many people have been rioting over this. It's an existential threat to their freedom, and they know it. And right off the bat, there was a whole bunch of screw-ups, and people just couldn't access stuff. It's evil. Absolute evil. Everything that is far left seems to be about control, meddling, and evil. Now, our Liberal minister here accidentally admits they are causing hunger crisis, completely embarrassing her party. Now, if anybody watched our live stream yesterday, you saw it happen live. I think I'm pretty well might have actually even put up some comments during her little diatribe, and that's why she's one of my favorite characters to put on top of an ostrich head in our intros, because she's really something. So, Northern Perspective, we've got a couple of videos. I'm just going to take a small clip here from Ryan, And again, when we play these videos, please go over to their channel and watch the whole thing. Because what he's saying makes complete sense, and we could see it happening. It's like they don't understand their own insanity. It's like they're so wrapped up in their own cognitive dissonance that, or maybe they don't. Maybe they're just really good actors. Or maybe they really are that insane.
It's clear that the leader of the opposition's driving for a Christmas election. He'd rather do that, Mr. Speaker, than stand up for the moms and dads across this country who are looking for affordable childcare, who want us to make the school food program permanent, Mr. Speaker, who want to invest in women's safety, Mr. Speaker, in shelters and homes and wraparound housing, Mr. Speaker. That's what Canadians want. They want things that are going to help their families and their communities, and these guys are threatening to take it all away.
Here's what nobody's telling you about the new bearskin hoodie. This fleece is
Bloody commercials.
Conservatives are threatening to take it all away. Yes, Patty Haidu, the Conservatives are threatening to take away hunger. They're threatening to take away poverty. They're threatening to take away government reliance. They're threatening to take away censorship. They're threatening to take away corrupt government officials that are profiting off of the decisions that they're making in the government. That's what the Conservatives are threatening to take away. But you would have Canadians go into $100 billion more in borrowing, saddling future generations, costing every Canadian, even your kids, an additional $2,500 per year. That's what $100 billion does, folks. So every year, you will have $2,500 more to pay in taxes. What does that say about this piddly little $50, in some cases $50 a month tax break that the government gave you?
Indeed. Right? Don't look at what this hand's doing while I'm giving you money with this hand. Yeah. If we don't see the evils of socialism, then maybe you should look further into the past and not just what's in front of you. I'm looking at my stream on X right now, and the NDP has introduced a bill, Bill C-253, an act to develop a national framework for a guaranteed livable basic income. Communism, folks. Did nobody listen to their teachers? Or maybe they weren't teaching them history anymore when they went through school? Or did nobody read history? Did nobody look at the past, at the USSR, and see that socialism kills a nation? It kills the spirit. It's godless. It kills initiative. I mean, that's why they're introducing their cultural Marxist DEI, right? Because they got to get rid of merit. Once you get rid of merit, then everybody's a victim. Everyone needs to be a taker now. Because there are fewer and fewer givers in Canada under this government. Because fewer and fewer people have jobs to pay taxes for all these crazy schemes. Seriously. There are people we need to take care of in our society. But that shouldn't be the majority of people on UBI. In fact, if you've got more than 10% of your population that you need to take care of on a regular basis to this extent, your country's broken. I think Canada's already broken. Now, Ryan has a little bit more for us. And, oh, no, it's not Ryan. It's, Viva. Oh, that was yesterday. That's right. Yes. Viva has a bit more on, yes, so not something to do with Canada, but something to do with the States. Now, if you guys haven't been paying attention or not, we all know that Joe Biden was having some cognitive issues. That's why we call them applesauce brains. And people that ignored this because of their Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, Trump orange man, there's nothing wrong with Biden. Yeah, until the first debate, and then he couldn't barely speak. And then he realized, oh my God, the guy's mind is jello. Well, then how does somebody whose mind is jello end up being a president and being able to sign so many things? Well, that's because apparently they abused the auto pen.
As bad as we all knew the Biden auto pen scandal was,
it's actually even worse than we thought.
Viva Fry, former Montreal litigator turned current Florida Rumbler, in my home office with another vlog on the Biden auto pen scandal. As bad as we all knew that it was, the details of the story are actually even worse than we initially thought. The report has come out, and Comer is none too happy about it.
But you're saying going forward, you will push for those documents and pardons to be null and void.
Absolutely, and the evidence that we've accumulated, and this is hours and hours and hours of deposition, hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents pertaining to emails and notes and things like that, I believe that's enough evidence to hold up in court. Whether it be the Supreme Court or any court in the land, the evidence is there that there was a cover-up and that there was unauthorized use of the auto pen. That is a huge scandal. I would argue the biggest scandal in American history. And now the damage, some of the damage with respect to holding some of these people accountable. I mean, the president never even gave a statement or an interview as to why he pardoned the entire January 6th committee or why he pardoned Dr. Fauci.
Actually, before we even get into the report, you all know that in his final days in office, Biden was handing out pardons like it was cotton candy to judges who were convicted of cash for kids scandals, to his brother, to his family, to the January 6th committee. And we all knew that Biden was not all there, so to speak, cognitively speaking. And we were asking who the heck was issuing these pardons. Well, now we know. A pen was.
And that's why in a new hall that President Trump set up in the White House of all the pictures of the presidents up to present day, he replaced Biden's picture with a picture of the auto pen. You know, the lefties are going to lose their minds on this one too. All the Trump derangement syndrome people are just going to have their minds explode. Their brains will be scraped off the walls everywhere we go. And speaking of brains, something that liberals have very little of because, well, we know they are deeply entwined with the Chinese communists. And Sam Cooper, he's our go-to guy.
There is a term that stems from experts such as David Mulrooney, Canada's former ambassador to China. It stemmed really from my reporting on an earlier NSI COP report, one of the first reports on foreign interference, which in a redacted form disclosed that Canada appeared to be a permissive target for China's interference. I later got an unredacted version of that 2019 NSI COP report that revealed a lot more. But again, in a nutshell, if you're permissive of foreign interference from another hostile state, that's indicating that there's either willful blindness, complicity, or capture. And so the concept of elite capture is that states like China, Russia just make it so profitable, so easy to accept their influence, either through what look like good trade benefits or diplomatic benefits that really come with hidden strings that the rest of the population doesn't understand. Your leaders can be captured by hostile states that are really deeply interfering, in a very subtle but effective way. And so the concept of elite capture simply being that if you have enough of your elite captured, that is senior industrialists, senior lawyers, senior lawmakers, senior political aides, and on the political side, as it turns out, you're receiving much of your election fundraising from China's United Front Work Department, it simply becomes the case that you don't have to capture every MP. If your party is captured and really is in hock to a foreign agency that in a very subtle way is manipulating your contest through donations and diaspora support, which comes, by the way, starting with diaspora threats, that leads to the threat of state capture. And that is, it's very hard to detect, but it's a real concept. It's when you may have a government in Belize But you know, under the surface, it's owned by Chinese triads, which is something I've read in an intelligence document. And so most Canadians wouldn't believe that it could, you know, happen anywhere. But if it can happen in a you know, a Latin American country, then you can bet that China is trying to make it happen here. And in my view and research, they're getting pretty close towards their goal.
I would say that they have already achieved their goal, given the amount of fentanyl drugs that are pouring through the country, and given the fact that Prime Minister Carney was pictured with United Front people, and then the Canadian government had them take down that webpage with the pictures, but that's okay because the internet is forever and the pictures are still there in a Wayback Machine, and plenty of other streamers and podcasters and video editors have already put that image back out there. It's easy to find. So when he's talking about the United Front influencing our politicians, I think that the Chinese influence in Canada can go all the way back to the 1960s with Pierre Elliott Trudeau. We all know that China and Canada have always had a special relationship because of Dr. Bethune. But over the years, as China has turned into a communist regime, there was a play back in the 90s to say, oh, let's do the rapprochement. If we let them become industrialized and get them up to par with Western standard of living, this will naturally democratize them. Except they didn't do that at all. The Chinese are communists, and the communists have full control. And if you don't listen to them, they kill you. That's how communists work. So what they said went, and we let them industrialize, and they don't play by the same rules, and they keep doing what it is they're doing on the side because they're communists. And in order to ensure that you spread your ideology throughout the planet, because that is a Marxist goal, well, you do that by destroying Western society from within, and you do that by corrupting the politicians in the other countries. And you do that in any way using any tool you can. Drugs is the easiest way for the communists to corrupt Western civilizations. People don't want to believe it, but it's happened in Canada. Now, Rebel News had this little piece out today, and it got me going. It got me going pretty hard. Next thing I knew that Veterans Affairs is actually sitting today as well. And then, of course, there was a bit of testimony there, and that got me going as well, which created a video that will be in the outro. But let's listen to this entire testimony because it's important, and I wish more Canadians would know that this is happening.
Yes. I don't know if you know who I am, but hopefully by the end of this you won't forget. I know it's easy to forget who we are, so let's see if this one sticks. I served my country at the age of 18. I went to war on behalf of you. A war I now know, and so many of us know, was built on lies. I've buried friends under the same flag hanging in this room, and I've watched the same flag burned outside these walls while you all stand silent calling it freedom when we all know it's terrorism. Here's the truth. Canada doesn't count veteran suicides. You never have. If you don't count us, then you don't have to admit that you failed us. Every single day since Afghanistan, another Canadian veteran dies by suicide. Sometimes two, sometimes more, but you wouldn't know that. And the government of Canada still refuses to track it, publish it, or face it. You hide behind one outdated study from 2016, and that is not enough. It's cowardice. We came home to neglect, bureaucracy, and betrayal. And when veterans reach out for help, this government sends investigators, not healers. We're followed, watched, drugged, and not treated. And when that doesn't work, our system offers us death. I helped break the story when Veterans Affairs began offering MAID to this lovely lady right here on my show. You said it stopped. Fun fact, it hasn't. You're still offering MAID, still issuing now NDAs and payouts to shut us up. I know this to be fact because everyone comes to me privately. Over 20 veterans have confirmed been offered MAID, and I have the proof. And I have proof of more. Offering death to the people you sent to war is moral rot, and this government is full of it. It's betrayal of the highest order. An offering made to people with PTSD is absolutely insane. Research shows 46% of those with PTSD have suicidal thoughts alone, and 19% attempt suicide without even being offered. It's much easier if you just dangle a carrot now, isn't it? See, you don't really need to offer them a needle, a paralytic, or a drug that fills your lungs as you drown to death in your own fluid. You can just, offer them help. Instead, you threaten our benefits if we speak out. I know this because you send PIs to follow me around. And you threaten me in emails, and your own MP and your own Prime Minister has done it. I know this because I also have it in writing. Your silence with us is just bureaucracy and fear. And your Veterans Affairs Minister, a figurehead with zero credibility, blocks veterans online for telling the truth. I also know this because she called for a photo op with me. And when I said no, she began blocking my posts on social media for me calling her out for her hypocritical continued behavior. Because weak leaders like Jill McKnight breed case managers who think they can get away with anything, including to offer us to die. One of the reasons I say this so confidently is because I just did a press conference this morning with MAID and the expansion you guys are all wanting to roll out. At the same time, which is really fun, Senator Pamela Wallin of Saskatchewan is facilitating a backdoor closed meeting with MPs and senators with Canada's government-funded pro-death cult Dying with Dignity tonight, and you can all join. Lobbying our government to continue to expand death as a solution for the disabled, the homeless, mentally ill, and our veterans. The senator who says she cares about veterans' lives built a political platform off of us, and today she is lobbying in another room to kill us. You don't fix a broken system by euthanizing it, people. And while you fund death and continue to expand in 2027, you deny life-saving treatments. I don't know, psychedelic-assisted therapy, let's take that. A proven, peer-reviewed study and treatment to treat PTSD and depression. Other nations across the globe not only study it, but successfully use it. And Canada continues to bury it in red tape. I know this because I am the only person in Canadian history to legally receive medical psilocybin outside of a clinical trial. Before I was approved, Health Canada offered me electroshock therapy, and I am so sorry they offered that to you. Don't you dare. There are other solutions, people. So think about that. This government would rather electrocute somebody who has a traumatic brain injury's brain into absolutely nothing instead of offering me a plant. One of the reasons I'm alive, and only reasons I'm alive, is because of Apex Labs fought through the extensively difficult special access program, not this government. They actually did everything they could to stop me. Every treatment that has helped me has come from outside of Canada, except for Dr. Greg Passy in Vancouver. Paid for by Americans, like Heroic Hearts Project, Defenders of Freedom, and private donors, not this government. While you hand out opioids and vending machines, acting like you're helping, we're begging for actual solutions you refuse to provide. This is what betrayal looks like. You spend $32 billion a year on Indigenous and veterans programs, yet the money never reaches the people who needs it. It dies in committees like this, paperwork, and photo ops. Meanwhile, $500 million go to foreign wars, while the soldiers who fought for this one can't get basic care. So let's be radically honest here, shall we? This room, this hearing, is theater, and every single one of you know it. Because somewhere in this country that used to look and act, smell, talk, and walk like Canada, a veteran won't make it to the morning. A family will lose their loved ones. A child will grow up without a parent, and the void they will leave will never ever be filled. It won't be because they were weak, not because they didn't try every single minute of their life just to keep breathing. It will be because this country that sent them to war and keeps sending kids to war built on lies refuses to bring them all the way home. And it will be your fault. The blood will be on your hands, not mine this time. And I will tell anybody who asks if they want to join, don't. They will leave you to die and step over your body to hand an immigrant your benefits, the ones you fought your whole career for. Veterans aren't asking for pity. We're demanding accountability. Count every death. Publish the data. Stop offering MAID as a policy. Have we lost our damn minds? Fund the treatments that work. Train actual case managers who speak English and know what we are going through. Stop selling our care to insurance companies like Manulife, because you did that too. You call us heroes when it's convenient, and you call us terrorists when we speak up. That's not leadership, it's shame. We were trained to fight for this country, and now we're forced to fight against it, just to stay alive after serving it. So yes, I live with PTSD, a traumatic brain injury, major depressive disorder, hearing loss, and treatment-resistant depression. But I'm still here. And I will spend the rest of my life exposing this government's failures until no veteran or person in this country sees Maze as way out ever. And if you ignore us after today, every suicide that follows will belong to you. Because what you refuse to confront, you choose to allow. Fund the real solutions. Stop choosing drugs and death over healing and humanity. We have a saying in the military: we never leave anyone ever behind. It's time this government starts living by that. Thank you.
Yeah. So you can see, why I have this channel, and why my first video was basically duty of care denied. Canadian Armed Forces duty of care denied. Denied, denied, denied till you die. That's the Liberal mantra. They are a death cult. They are abusers and users, manipulators. And if you're thinking of joining the Canadian Armed Forces, don't. Just like it's all over my channel. Don't do it. Couldn't stop my own family members from joining. Nope. No, but, and as well, if you join, in accordance with CDS Directive 003, you will still be required to take three COVID-19 vaccines for deployment. That's right. Even after everything we know, even after the data set has come out from Stats Canada proving that there was an excess death rate, massive spike that continues to this day since the inoculations were put out. And we have Canadian Armed Forces members who are being denied treatment because they won't recognize their vaccine injury. Same thing with Veterans Affairs. They won't recognize COVID-19 vaccine injuries. They said, no, you have to apply to the Vaccine Injury Support Program. Oh, wait a minute. The 3-year window on that is over. And besides, that Vaccine Injury Support Program is a massive failure, as we know. Back in July, EHAC had to take it over, and we haven't heard peep since. Yes, they're still trying to quietly throw that under the rug. And anybody with social media knows that it's all over social media right now. They're trying to push the COVIDity stupidity again. COVID this, COVID that, mask this, mask that. Right now, of course, it's the big push. Hey, look, mRNA technology for vaccines is now proven to help cancer treatments. And every time we ask them, hey, well, how about the what's going on with the Vaccine Injury Support Program? How's that working out for you? You get blocked. You get blocked. Yeah. Oh, wait. You can't let people know the truth. Can't let people know the truth. Well, let's move on to our next panel. Here's Conservatives ripping apart Bill C-8. Challenge privacy concerns, overreach, and abuse of power. Why is the spade not working? There we go.
Notification and transparency requirements after the fact, and then ultimately all decisions of the minister are reviewable by the courts, and the telecom operators are not shy to go to the court. They are, well-resourced and frequently make use of that avenue.
I don't know if we need to give the government the ability to secretly ask for individual Canadians' data. I don't think that's necessary. Law enforcement can get that with a warrant. Government doesn't need that. The only thing the government should be able to do is to manage a crisis. Individual people causing individual problems with telecom networks, the governments don't need to get involved in. Why? Because the telecom networks are going to have that concern and they're going to be dealing with it toot sweet. That's literally what their cybersecurity departments and the rest of their operational IT infrastructure and their team supporting it, that's what they do. That's what they do. Like, I've worked for them, so I get it. The only thing that the government should be concerned about doing is managing large crises. So if they determine that we're being hit by a massive cyber attack, then they should be able to say, Bell, shut down the Northern Ontario network. Shaw or Rogers, shut down the, western corridor of the Western Canada network and route everything down through the southern corridor. Like, that's what they should be able to do. Nothing else. You don't need anything else. And for them to say, well, it's security. Yeah, this is always what we hear with extreme socialism. Surrender your rights so we can make you secure. Sorry. Do I think that it's a good idea to give the government some sort of power to shut down specific parts of the infrastructure? Sure. But it should be large areas. And it shouldn't be secret. And you must allow, secret or not, you must allow the telecom providers to be able to challenge it in court if appropriate. So I want to see some amendments, so we'll be following this very closely, and hopefully we can trim this bill down so it's going to be more reasonable and less impact on your charter rights.
I've covered part of this in a prior video. Let's bring that up.
Congressional record from January the 10th, 1963. Congress.
So there are 45 Stalinist goals of communism that were established, and they were recorded in the Congress of the United States back in 1963. And I've taken the first 20 and adapted them to cultural Marxism and in Canada. And throughout the video, you can go through, and they are current with what's happening now. Now, mind you, some of the information on the video now is going to be just slightly out of date because some of the bills have been amended, have been split, because all these things that are being pointed out here are being captured in the committees that the Liberals do not have control over. Now, they would have control if the NDP person sitting on the committee sided with them, but it's not happening. Or there aren't too many NDPs. It's mostly just the Bloc and the Conservatives with a minority of Liberals in these committees. So right here are some of the bills that they had tabled. Like Ryan, he was talking about Bill C9. And was that the one? Internet Bill, yes, Bill C9. Internet phone gulag with no appeal. Oh, sorry, that's Bill C8. Right, Bill C8. Which would have given the minister the ability just to arbitrarily cancel somebody's internet and put them in a digital gulag. And they're not even allowed to tell anybody they're in a digital gulag as well. Which means no internet, no phone. You can't tell anybody you don't have internet or phone or you go to jail. It was ridiculous. And they were asking, well, why does this need to be secret? They couldn't give them an answer. And they also asked him, why would they need warrantless powers of arrest? For that, they couldn't answer. So that's how these things get destroyed within committee. And then, but the whole point is, why would they put that in the first place? Why would Liberals put this in there? Because they're control freaks and they have an agenda. They always have to meddle. They can't improve on things. They have to change everything. And then somewhere in there gives them a little bit of extra power so they can crush Canadians in order to bring their liberal utopia. Let's move on to our next panel. Yes. So what do we got here? 84-year-old icon, environmentally movement slams, denying 16-year-olds the right to vote in Vancouver civic elections. I'm going to play his video. The fact that people are still going around out there today saying that 16-year-olds should have the vote. Yeah, that's the only way somebody should be getting a vote earlier than what they're legally entitled to is if they join the Canadian Armed Forces. That's what I would say. Old enough to bleed for your country, old enough to do the other things that the adults can do. All right, that would be drink, vote, get married, right? If you're going to force a young lad at 16 years old to lay his life on the line for your government, especially if they're conscript, I would say give them these rights. But other than that, leave the rest alone. The reason they want this vote is because they know the young minds have been brainwashed in school these days. This current generation of little cultural Marxists, they're all coming out of school as gimme, takers of cultural Marxism, always finding themselves to be a victim of someone's oppressor because that's what they've been taught now in school. Instead of teaching them reading, writing, and arithmetic, you've got these little soldiers of ideology now being marched out of the schools. About land rights and gender this, climate that. Because it's not about making things better. It's not about respecting your neighbors. It's about forcing change upon them. Yeah, that's what it is, folks. Forcing change. Speaking of change, this is a little disturbing. But I'm not surprised, seeing as who the mayor is there. Now, here's a post by the NCCM, National Council on Canadian Muslims. Right? Let's do a quick little history lesson on the NCCM first. Now, the NCCM used to be known as CARECAN, which was the Council of American Islamic Relations. And the Council of American Islamic Relations used to be the go-to organization for Muslim issues in the United States until they got indicted. The Council on American Islamic Relations was named as an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation terrorism financing case. The government alleged that the HLF had ties to Hamas, and the list of unindicted co-conspirators included organizations that the government stated were part of the same network. As a result of being named, the FBI suspended its liaison relationship with CARE. And they haven't started to back up yet. Now, the government's reasoning. The government presented evidence during the trial that linked CARE and other organizations to a group it said was controlled by Hamas. The FBI noted that this evidence showed CARE and two of its founders had ties to a group linked to Hamas. CARE, along with other groups' names, stated that being labeled as an unindicted co-conspirator unfairly damaged their reputation and violated their due process rights, especially since they were not formally charged with a crime. Legal and official actions, where a federal judge later ruled that a process of publicly naming these groups as unindicted co-conspirators did violate their due process rights, though the ruling was made after the trial itself had concluded. The FBI also suspended its formal contacts with CARE after the group was named. And then the subsequent developments, the FBI's actions and the naming of CARE have led to ongoing scrutiny and legislative proposals related to the organization. But we've never let terrorism get in the way of a good leftist virtue signaling press release, have we? No. So let's ignore that CARE had its own Canadian branch here in Canada, and let's ignore that after being an unindicted co-conspirator, they changed their name to the NCCM from CARECAN. So let's just forget that there are unindicted terrorist co-connections with the National Council of Canadian Muslims. Every time you see NCCM, let's just ignore that they used to be CARECAN. And today, the NCCM team stood with community groups who have been leading the city of Brampton City Hall and spoke in support of a motion that calls Canada to align with international law and Palestinian human rights. Are these the same Palestinian human rights that throws gay people off tops of roofs? Or that executes people on the streets after putting them on their knees and putting a bag over their head? Is this the same international Palestinian human rights that drags dead carcasses of Jews and parades them through the streets in celebration? Is this the same Palestinian human rights that hands out candies every time a terrorist act is successful in killing Jews in Israel, being launched from Gaza or from the other Palestinian territories in the West Bank? Is this the same Palestinian human rights that ensure that if you don't vote for Hamas, you will be one of their enemies. This is the same Palestinian human rights that uses hospitals as a launching area for missiles as against their enemy combatants, that uses human shields. Is these the same Palestinian human rights that holds hostages and starves them in underground tunnels? Are these the same human Palestinian rights that arbitrarily just rip up infrastructure to build homemade rockets so you can continually launch munitions into your neighbor's backyard hoping that you can kill them? Are these the same Palestinian human rights? The chant from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, which is really just a chant for the genocide of all Jews from the Mediterranean to the river? I'm not sure. Okay, we're getting pretty close to question period. There's still statements by members. Our law enforcement, from Sean Fraser, the twice failed minister, who everything he touches just turns into a bloody disaster. Remember, this is the same guy who wants to get rid of the notwithstanding clause to further defang provinces from protecting themselves from an overbearing federal government. The law enforcement have asked us to make changes to the criminal code, and we've listened. Oh, yes, you've listened. 6 to 7 years later, you finally listened, liberals. By cracking down on auto theft, home invasions, human smuggling, human trafficking, and improve public safety, undermine cash flow. I don't see anything for drugs. I guess they're not cracking down on drugs. We're not cracking down on drugs, are we? No, not at all. Let's see. How's your progress report going? Worst housing affordability ever, skyrocketing national debt, rampant inflation, homelessness, and tent cities. Well, we used to call them Trudeau cities, Trudeau towns. And I guess we'll call them Carney towns. Violent crime rates soaring. Yes, opioid deaths on the rise. Well, continuing. I mean, there's over 50,000 deaths from overdoses since the introduction of harm reduction across Canada, due to the federal government saying it's okay to go ahead and fucking distribute drugs. We love this harm reduction program because they are a culture of death. Healthcare system breakdown. Yes, because you saturated Canada with over 3 million migrants in the past 5 years, making everything break down, not just healthcare. And of course, healthcare had a bit of a boost there because you lost a bunch of people because they wouldn't take your COVID-19 fascism. And they said, screw that, I'm out of here. I'm not injecting that thing in my body. And then you tried to get some of them back, but they said, no, screw that. You're not fooling me again. Yeah, and then of course you haven't recovered then. That's why we're still running out of doctors. Now, are we getting close? No, still statement by members. Let's see, bank accounts frozen during the protests. Yes, we've mentioned that before. They just told the banks to do it, and the banks followed. No law, just arbitrarily. Political interference. It's like dealing with political prisoners. It's like having a king of the land saying, no, stop this, stop that, arrest these people, put them in jail, prosecute him, I don't care. Let's ignore the law and just do what we want. Yeah, like freezing bank accounts. Ethics scandals up the wazoo. I mean, that's their entire plan, is have as many ethics scandals as possible. In fact, try to have one a day. That way they can't keep track, they can't keep up. That's how really successful liberal criminal works. Censorship of citizens. What we know is this was exposed. They went to social media and they had people's accounts taken down, closed down, shut down for a couple of weeks here and there, just doing all the little things that they could, or suppress their information. And we know that the algorithm is being suppressed. Anyone that is not part of this organization here, right? If you're not part of this organization, you are getting your media suppressed. And guess what? We are on.
Of this Liberal government, elites and insiders have never had it so good. Meanwhile, this Prime Minister is telling young Canadians that they're going to have to sacrifice even more. And now we learn what all that sacrifice is going to. We learned today that these Liberals just paid out big bonuses to government officials. The Liberal Housing Agency, CMHC, whose main job is to make housing more affordable, paid out $30 million in executive bonuses at a rate of about $42,000 a pop. Each one of those could have been a down payment for a young Canadian. Why is the Prime Minister telling young Canadians that they're going to have to sacrifice so that he can pay off government insiders?
The Honourable Minister for Gender Equality, Women and Gender Equality, Tourism and Small Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians made it clear in the last election they want more homes built, especially for young Canadians trying to buy their first home. And that's why this government is moving fast. We're cutting the GST for first-time home buyers up to $50,000 in tax relief and nearly $4 billion in savings, Mr. Speaker. This works on building on our first home savings account and the National Housing Strategy supporting purpose-built rentals for young Canadians. While Conservatives are voting down affordability measures, we're stepping up and taking care of young Canadians finally getting the keys to their first home. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Regina Capel.
Mr. Speaker, if flushing billions of tax dollars through big bureaucracies actually worked, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We've been hearing the same thing for 10 years from this Liberal government, and the results for young Canadians are terrible. The youth unemployment rate is now 50.
Canadians want is a great job, and that's why we're making the investments not only in the things that they need, like good jobs, housing, major projects, but also in the skills training that they need to pick up those jobs. You know, the Canadian Building Trades Union does a fantastic job training young apprentices, and that's why in our budget we will propose $75 million more to Canadian building trades unions and other unions around the country to train our youth who want to do the work, Mr. Speaker. They want to be part of this transformation.
The Honourable Member for Calgary East.
The Prime Minister told young Canadians to make sacrifices while Liberal insiders and elites never had it so good. Canadians are lining up at food banks while Liberals use tax dollars to hand out bonuses. CMHC execs got $30 million in bonuses for helping the Liberal housing crisis. EDC execs got $60 million in bonuses for Liberal mismanagement of COVID benefits. How many more sacrifices do young people need to make so the Prime Minister can keep lining the pockets of his insider buddies?
The Honourable Minister for Women and Gender Equality.
Mr. Speaker, this is coming from a member whose leader, when once responsible for this file, only built 6 homes in this country. Mr. Speaker, Conservatives claim to care about young people, yet every time a measure comes forward to actually support them, they vote against it. They voted against the National Housing Strategy, against the first-time home savings account, against expanding mortgage criteria, and now they won't even commit that GST cut that would save first-time home buyers $50,000. But don't worry, Mr. Speaker, Canadians can rely on our government and this side of the House to keep making life more affordable for Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary East.
Housing was half the cost under our leader when he was the housing minister.
That's right.
And if all of those expensive programs work, 700,000 kids wouldn't be waiting in food bank lines every single month.
Exactly.
And rents have doubled. A PEI senior reported he's living out of his car because he can't afford rent. But this is the new normal in Liberal Canada. The only people eating and living good today are the Prime Minister and his elitist buddies. Why is he putting taxpayer-funded bonuses ahead of struggling Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I had the privilege of meeting with Minister Barb Ramsey of the Conservative government of Prince Edward Island. And you know what Minister Ramsey and I talked about? How pleased they were that we made the National School Food Program permanent. In fact, they've been able to drive down food hunger through National School Food Programs, and they are so happy to have a federal partner that's working with them so that kids can eat in dignity no matter who they are, no matter where they go to school.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have been in power for 10 years now, and you know what? Nowadays, more than 600,000 Quebecers are going to food banks every month, while the Prime Minister's friends are filling their boots. Last week, he had the nerve to tell young people to make even more sacrifices, while BDC and CMHC execs are getting tens of millions in bonuses. Instead of telling our young people to make sacrifices, why doesn't the Prime Minister ask his friends to make some by cutting back on their compensation packages? Why doesn't he do that? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Mr. Speaker, if my colleague wants to talk about nerve, they have the nerve to say things like that here in the House, but then vote against the measures we take to help the young and the vulnerable. For example, dental care that's helped thousands of people in his own riding. We could also talk about the hundreds of thousands of young people who have access to the school food program, which his colleague called garbage, Mr. Speaker. That takes a lot of nerve. The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, they seem not to understand what ordinary people are going through. In Quebec, 600,000 people are now going to food banks. And at the same time, rents have doubled in all parts of Quebec, and the price of groceries continues to rise. Mr. Speaker, in the Journal de Montréal on the weekend, there was a front-page story about pregnant women cutting back on protein and vegetables. People don't have enough money to pay rent or buy groceries. Will the Prime Minister finally get the message and table an affordable budget so Quebec families can have an affordable life?
Honorable Ministre.
The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, what's absolutely astounding is that whenever they have an opportunity to vote on programs that would truly improve the cost of living for Quebecers and Canadians, they vote against it. When it's for children or for the dental care program, the school food program, which has been a huge success helping young people in Quebec. They talk a good talk, but every time it comes to a vote, they're missing in action. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, 30 years ago, Quebecers came within a hair's breadth of creating their own country. Now the Yes camp is back in action. So to all Quebecers who were already part of it, let's roll up our sleeves and start again. To all Quebecers who, like me, were too young or not even born yet, or who changed their minds, or who are living in another country, now it's our turn. But it'll have to be done democratically. And the federal government is preventing that with its Clarity Act. So my question to the government, will they commit to respecting the will of Quebecers? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Culture and Identity. Quebecers and Canadians went to the polls, and the people of Quebec chose to elect twice as many Liberals from Quebec than members on the opposite benches. I knocked on hundreds of doors and spoke to hundreds of people, and you know what no one was asking for? Another referendum. And now today, we're tabling a budget that will help build Canada. That's what our constituents want from us. The honourable member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, the minister can still join the Yes camp once he's made his mind up. But in the meantime, it's not him, it's the citizens of Quebec who will decide on their future. And the Quebec nation deserves to be able to make all its own choices, like other peoples on this earth. If the minister is sure of Quebecers' attachment to Canada, he shouldn't be afraid of democracy. If he thinks he's sure to win a future referendum, why doesn't he repeal the Clarity Act? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, we're dealing with important challenges. And here on this side of the House, and the majority of Quebecers, they think we're stronger, united to meet the challenge, the current day's challenges. The Bloc can do what it wants to do, but we're focused on unity and on the major, and we believe that we're stronger together than divided. The Honourable Member Saint-Jean for Lac Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers are a people like any other people, neither better nor worse. Maybe a little cooler, though. We deserve to be sovereign in our own home, like all peoples of the earth. We deserve to have our voice heard in the world, like all other peoples of the earth. And above all, we deserve to make all our democratic choices ourselves, like all other peoples on earth. And that's the principle that the Clarity Act violates. It is literally English Canada retaining a right of oversight over our democracy. Will the government repeal this colonialist legislation? The Honourable Minister. It's quite interesting that the member talks about all peoples at a time when the government of Quebec has just tabled legislation without even consulting the Indigenous peoples of Quebec. No consultation whatsoever. So That's not how you work together, Mr. Speaker. And on this side of the House, we believe that we're stronger together. We believe in reconciliation with First Nations. And we consult with First Nations on all our legislation. That's how you build a country.
Honorable député.
The honourable member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, while Canadians are going without food because of high prices, the Prime Minister's friends continue to get richer. When he created the new Defence Procurement Agency, the Prime Minister quickly turned to Doug Guzman to fill the position of CEO and gave him a $700,000 salary. After all, with Liberals, once a crony, always a crony. But now he's forgetting that he's spending taxpayers' money, not Bay Street's. Can this Prime Minister stop asking young people to make sacrifices so that his friends get rich? The Honourable Government House Leader.
Les conservateurs vont...
The only question on everyone's lips is, will the Conservatives steal Christmas from Canadians by triggering an election? We were just elected 6 months ago, and we got a mandate to build the strongest economy in the G7 and a strong country, and to build housing and opportunities, job opportunities for young people from coast to coast to coast. Is that member going to steal Christmas, or will he support our young people by supporting our budget? The honourable member for Charlesbourg, Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Government House Leader, he's unique. There's no one else like him. And he's supporting the Liberals' mismanagement for 10 years and telling Canadians that everything's going tickety-boo. Are they going to table an affordable budget so that Canadians can have an affordable life? That's the question on everyone's lips. The Honourable Government House Leader. That is the question. That is the question. We are going to table an affordable budget based on a strong economy, which will guarantee a future and housing for our young people. It will guarantee training for our young people. The only question that remains is, are they going to steal Christmas, or are they going to take this opportunity to build a strong country with the best economy in the G7?
Member from Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
This government, Liberal elites and insiders have never had it so good. But the Prime Minister told Canadians they need to sacrifice. He promised he would spend less, but instead he spends more. The latest example, the head of his new defense investment agency, who has never served, will draw a $700,000 salary. Meanwhile, rent has doubled, food banks are breaking records, and seniors are living in their cars. How much more do young Canadians have to sacrifice so this Prime Minister can hire his buddies?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know where the party ops has been for the last 4 months, but we've been traveling in the country listening to Canadians. On November 4th, we will table a generational budget, Mr. Speaker. We will spend less in government operations. We will invest more in Canada. We will invest more in Canadians, Mr. Speaker. We will invest in infrastructure, defense, national projects, housing. Mr. Speaker, on this side of the House, we believe in Canada. We will build our country and our economy, and the strongest economy in the G7. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Tell that to the 700,000 kids lined up at food banks. Sacrifice for Liberal insiders. Canadians need a government that puts ordinary families first. While Canadians are sacrificing, the Prime Minister is handing out $700,000 salaries to his high-flying buddies like Halloween candy. When will this Prime Minister stop using taxpayer dollars to line his friends' pockets and finally give Canadians an affordable budget for an affordable life?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Party apologize to all the kids who take benefit of the National School Food Program, Mr. Speaker. They called it garbage last week, and they claimed it doesn't feed a single child. On the contrary, it feeds 400,000 kids every year, helping them to learn, helping them to focus, be ready for a full day of school. This is about giving every child an opportunity, no matter where they live, no matter where they earn. Mr. Speaker, I ask the members opposite, now that it's known Will they correct the record and apologize, or will they ruin Christmas with a Christmas?
The honourable member for Carlton Trail Eagle Creek.
After 10 years of this government, Liberal elites and insiders have never had it so good. The Prime Minister promised to cut high-priced consultants, but has already broken that promise. In 3 years, consultant spending soared more than 30%. This Prime Minister said he'd do things differently. According to him, differently is spending more than a record $26 billion on consultants. Another broken Liberal promise. Will the Prime Minister cut the costly consultants so Canadians can afford to eat?
Honourable Secretary. The Honourable Secretary of State for... The Secretary of State... The Honourable Secretary of State for Rural Development.
Mr. Speaker, I reject the premise of that question, Mr. Speaker, because we all know on this side of the House the Conservatives never gave a dang about the low-income people and never will, Mr. Speaker.
There you go.
So I would point again, a memo to the Conservatives. Canadians don't want a Christmas election, first of all. The second thing is I would ask the Leader of the Opposition
the member would like it from the top. Go from the top.
So, Mr. Speaker, as they speak about the challenges in this country, I'm going to ask the Leader of the Opposition, what did he take for severance when the current member from Carleton defeated him at the polls? How much did he take, Mr. Speaker?
Honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands.
Well, this Prime Minister and these Liberals are asking students to make sacrifices, and Canadians are lined up at food banks in record numbers. Their use of their well-connected friends and high-priced consultants is driving costs up, like the Benefits Modernization Program that the Auditor General says is ballooned by an additional $1.3 billion and could hit as high as $8 billion. Canadians can't afford this Liberal government when we see layoffs from coast to coast to coast that we've never seen before. Why is it that Canadians are being asked to make sacrifices while these Liberals continue to reward well-connected Liberal consultants?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, this from the member who, when asked about his leader's comments on the RCMP, said, "I'm sorry, I have a lozenge in my mouth." So what I would like to ask that member is, will he take out his lozenge, go over and talk to the Leader of the Opposition, say, don't be a Grinch, don't cause a Christmas election, vote for this budget, and make Canada the best economy in the G7.
Honourable member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Lakes.
Well, I can tell you that a lot of Canadians feel sick after these Liberals continue to inflict their out-of-control spending on consultants. Last year alone, over $20 billion on well-connected Liberal insiders getting contracts. And this year, I think the number said that it's going to go as high as $25 billion. Why won't they put Canadians first? Instead of asking young people to make sacrifices, why won't they cut out their well-connected friends, put Canadians first, and deliver a budget that Canadians can actually afford?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the member's choice of cold remedy, we will be putting a budget before this House next week. This member will have an opportunity to vote for opportunities for young people, for UTIP grants to unions so that we can create skilled trade jobs, unionized skilled trade jobs on major projects in this country, so that we can fund science, so that we can fund education, so that we can give a raise to our military personnel. Mr. Speaker, please vote for that budget. Don't cause
The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, yesterday our forestry industry and its workers were here on the Hill to call on Ottawa to finally support them in their dispute with the Americans. They're asking the federal government to pay them 50% of any future countervailing duties. This is a no-cost measure since we know the American duties are illegal and ultimately our producers will get reimbursed. But it's crucial for the survival of our sawmills. Yesterday, the minister appeared open to the idea, so it's up to her to turn this openness into action. Will she? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Culture and Identity. I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for that question. Last Friday, with my colleague from Les Pays d'en Haut, we met with the mayors in the Laurentide region and to talk about the $500 million available through BDC rather. And we are going to be there to support the industry and its workers through these tough times. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, it seems the Liberals have been duped as well. It seems they believed their Prime Minister when he said there would be a deal with the Americans in July, and then that there would be one this fall. But there is no deal, and it's clear there is no savior in the Liberal Party. It's a rude awakening. It hurts, but they have to finally understand the urgency of protecting our economy. Our forestry industry is calling for support in the face of countervailing duties. They need a wage subsidy to protect jobs. When will the Liberals finally do something? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague. We fully agree with him that this is an unjustified situation. The tariffs are unwarranted, and we hope to work with all members, the 40 members from Quebec in particular, to help our softwood lumber industry. Earlier, the minister mentioned that there's $1.25 million in support, and we want to do even more for our lumber industry.
After 10 years of this government, Liberal friends and insiders have never had it so good. We just learned that the government's own housing agency just doled out over $3.6 million in bonuses to all but one of their 86 executives. That's about $43,000 per executive. Meanwhile, rents have doubled, mortgage payments have doubled, home prices have doubled. I'm just wondering if the minister can tell Canadians who cannot find a home how much more he requires them to sacrifice while he pays his executive bonuses.
Honourable Minister of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the opposition keeps talking down our country. We are building it up. They talk down our housing as shacks in Soviet style. They talk down our police as despicable. They talk down our school food program as garbage. Meanwhile, here's some good news, Mr. Speaker. The only thing going down are interest rates. Meanwhile, we're working hard building affordable housing, hiring 1,000 new RCMP officers, and our national food program is feeding hundreds. Why don't they join us in building up the country instead of tearing it down?
The Honourable Member for Parry Sound Muskoka.
Mr. Speaker, food bank visits have skyrocketed to 2.2 million this year. Home prices are 54% higher today than they were in October 2015. The CTV reported this morning that a 76-year-old man in Prince Edward Island has been living in his car for the last 2 months because he cannot afford rent. The Prime Minister has told young Canadians that need to sacrifice. So the question is very simple. How much more sacrifice do you require from struggling Canadians to pay executive bonuses?
The Honourable Minister.
Thanks for the question, Mr. Speaker. We are doing everything to build this country up strong. The Conservatives are talking it down. They talk down our housing program. They vote against affordable housing. They vote against school food programs. They vote against hiring 1,000 RCMP officers. The hard work right now is to build this country up. We've got a budget coming November 4th. I hope they join us in doing the hard work. and build this country up and avoid a Christmas election. Fight for this country.
The honourable member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of these Liberals, insiders have never had it so good. Canadians made 2.2 million food bank visits last year, including 700,000 children. And seniors are living in cars because rent has doubled. Meanwhile, this government gave $1 billion to buy boats from Beijing, offshoring Canadian steel, shipbuilding jobs, while executives at the Canadian Infrastructure Bank pocketed fat bonuses. They laugh all the way to the bank while Canadian workers cry all the way to the food bank. When will this Prime Minister stop lining the pockets of insiders and start delivering an affordable life for Canadians?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, I want to thank my honourable friend who's also the transport critic, and I will tell him that next week, November 4th, there's going to be a budget that solves the problem that he and I want solved, the problem of Drivers Inc. The Minister of Finance announced today that measures are going to be taken to make sure we restore labour standards and fairness to the trucking industry in this country. That's going to be in the budget. Will this member, I'm asking him, walk down the aisle, tell the Grinchy leader of the opposition, vote for the budget, don't ruin Christmas, build Canada strong, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna.
I didn't expect the minister to ask me to walk down the aisle with him. Canadians made 2.2 million food bank visits last year, while seniors are sleeping in cars because rent has doubled. Yet this Liberal government sent $1 billion taxpayer dollars to buy boats from Beijing and handed out eye-popping bonuses at the Canadian Infrastructure Bank. Why is this Prime Minister using taxpayer dollars to reward insiders and offshoring Canadian jobs instead of helping Canadians afford the food and a roof over their heads?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, I want to once again thank my honourable friend and tell him I'll walk down any aisle that he wants to walk down if he'll just walk down a few steps and tell the Grinchy leader of the opposition we don't want a Christmas election. We want to support a plan that gives raises to the military, that keeps that shipbuilding industry in Vancouver humming, building ships for the Coast Guard and the Canadian military. All of this is going to be in our affordable, great economy-building budget on November 4th. Will that member do the right thing? Tell the Leader of the Opposition we don't want a Christmas election, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, while Canadians are struggling, it's the festival of bonuses for Liberal elites and insiders. Executives at the Business Development Bank of Canada got an average of $216,000 in bonuses. At Via Rail, it was $110,000 in bonuses. And at Export Development Canada, $143,000 in bonuses, Mr. Speaker. The Liberal Prime Minister is asking young people to make sacrifices, but not his buddies. Can this Prime Minister stop asking young Canadians to make sacrifices to enrich his buddies? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, listen, we've already seen him do better than that, Mr. Speaker. In terms of his question, he wants to talk about sacrifices. It's a bit hypocritical on their side. They're ready to sacrifice the Canada Child Benefit. They're ready to sacrifice dental care. They're ready to sacrifice the National School Food Program. They'd be ready to sacrifice, Mr. Speaker, an increase in salary for our armed forces. Mr. Speaker, the official opposition leader was ready to sacrifice one of his own MPs to get elected a couple of months ago, so we understand that they understand sacrifices over there.
West Vancouver, Sunshine Coast, Sea to Sky Country.
Mr. Speaker, money laundering, fraud, and financial crimes fuel organized crime, undermine confidence in our financial system, and contribute to serious challenges like the opioid crisis and rising housing costs in British Columbia. Our government has taken decisive action in recent years through major legislative reforms, but the sophistication of these crimes means we must remain vigilant and we must do more. Can the Secretary of State for the CRA and financial institutions update the House on how our government is strengthening enforcement to better detect and disrupt financial crime?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions and...
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague.
Just a moment. I just want to warn some members in this corner that we have to keep the level of noise down so that we can hear the Secretary of State for Financial Institutions and the Canada Revenue Agency.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague for this important question. Last week, our new Liberal government introduced that on November 4th, our very first budget will take decisive action to safeguard Canadians' financial information and life savings. All of us in this House have had cases of heartbreak, especially seniors being defrauded. That's why we will introduce several measures in Budget 2025 to combat financial crimes, such as federal anti-fraud strategy, a dedicated financial crimes agency, and a code of conduct to combat economic abuse. Budget 2025 will build Canada strong by protecting.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent Akiawenrak. Mr. Speaker, for 10 years the Liberals have been completely mismanaging taxpayer money. And the Auditor General has given us a terrible example. The Canada Revenue Agency signed a contract for 10 years for a new telephone system with a budget of $50 million. Do you know how much it's cost them so far? $190 million, and it might go up to $217 million, 4 times more than what was expected. That's Liberal management. Will the Liberals finally understand that they need to stop wasting money and put in place measures so that people can have an affordable life? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation. And I'll be happy to brief my colleague from the opposition so that he understands the nature of that contract, which was a competitive bid where the fees of $190 million over 10 years were included in the initial contract. We got good value for money. If he'd like to know more about that specific instance of procurement, I'd be happy to brief him on that. Otherwise, I would invite him to listen to what was said at committee recently, where the president of Shared Services Canada explained the situation. The Honourable Member for Louis Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, I would invite everybody to listen to what happened at committee about the CRA. It was very instructive on the completely irresponsible way that they have been managing the CRA for the last 10 years under this Liberal government. The result, Mr. Speaker, is what? Well, it means that there are 2 million Canadians who are going to food banks right now. The cost of housing has doubled since these people have been in power. And what has the Prime Minister asked for from young people? More sacrifices. When will the government understand that they need to stop wasting, that they need to put in place real measures so that all Canadians can have an affordable life? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, what we promised Canadians and young Canadians, and the reason why they're on that side of the House and we're over here, is we promised a serious plan for Canada's economy by making key investments to build Canada's economy while reducing the cost of living, while increasing the cost of purchasing power. That's what we did by lowering taxes for 22 million Canadians. That's what we're going to do on November 4th. I would invite the member to support us.
For Calgary Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, after 10 years of this government, Liberal elites and insiders have never had it so good. But the Prime Minister told young Canadians that they are the ones who need to sacrifice. So while young Canadians have given up on home ownership, the Auditor General reports that the CRA allowed a telephone system contract to go from $50 million to nearly $200 million while they still don't answer the phone. Will the government deliver an affordable budget that reins in sweetheart deals for insiders, yes or no?
Yeah, you go.
The Honourable Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
Mr. Speaker, one thing is clear. Investing in housing is one of the most effective ways to tackle food insecurity. In the last 6 months, in my home riding of Edmonton Centre, I announced over $400 million in infrastructure investments and affordable housing. We're not asking young people to make sacrifices or Canadians to make sacrifices. We're asking the Conservatives to support our generational budget so we can keep building homes and make life affordable for Canadians.
Honourable Member for Calgary Midnapore.
After 10 years of this Liberal government, elites and insiders have never had it so good. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister's message to young Canadians is to continue to sacrifice. While Canadians are lining up at food banks, billions of their tax dollars keep going to consultants, $25 billion, in fact. Consultants that don't stick to budgets or, according to the Auditor General, don't even deliver results. So why doesn't this Prime Minister make his friends and insiders sacrifice instead of young Canadians?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, one of the biggest drivers of food insecurity is the cost of housing, and that's why we're focused on getting more homes built. That's how you make life affordable for Canadians, and we're starting to see progress. Projects are breaking ground, rents are starting to level off, and more families are moving into homes that they can afford. The Conservatives can criticize all they want, but if they really wanted to help families with affordability, they'd support our budget.
Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
The numbers don't lie. Canadians have made a smashing 2.2 million food bank visits. Over 700,000 are children. 700,000, Mr. Speaker. Canadians are living in their cars. They are struggling. They can't afford food and they can't afford homes. These are facts. So why won't the Liberals admit that their programs aren't working and that they will choose their friends and insiders over Canadians every single time?
Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
You know, Mr. Speaker, I've noticed that the Conservatives have stopped quoting the report from Food Banks Canada. And you know why, Mr. Speaker? Because in that report, in fact, what Food Banks Canada said is that there are some promising signs from the federal government. Things like Canada disability payment for the very first time, something those guys voted against. The Canadian dental care plan that's bringing down costs of dental care for Canadians, Mr. Speaker, a national school food program, and a national housing strategy that's focused on market rent housing. Mr. Speaker, that's what they're prepared to throw away.
The Honourable Member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister stands to make tens of millions of dollars in future bonus pay from 3 investment funds that he registered in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands. So a simple question, how many other investments does the Prime Minister have in offshore tax havens?
Good question.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
That member knows very well that all members in this House must abide by some of the strictest, most stringent ethics rules in the world. The Prime Minister has not only met but exceeded his requirements under those ethics guidelines, Mr. Speaker, and he will continue to do so.
The Honourable Member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, expert testimony reveals that the Prime Minister's company, Brookfield, is the biggest tax dodger in Canada, having avoided paying a staggering $6.5 billion in taxes in just 5 years. As chair of Brookfield, the Prime Minister registered 3 investment funds in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands in which he stands to make millions. So again, how much does the Prime Minister have in offshore tax havens?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, Canada lives under the most stringent and strong ethics guidelines for designated public office holders in the world. All members must comply with these requirements. These requirements are met very transparently, including the Prime Minister's, which is all, of course, available for the public to view. These ethics guidelines in Canada are strong, and we should be proud of that, Mr. Speaker.
For St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals speak of a stringent and robust regime, yet the Prime Minister's company, Brookfield, registered multiple funds to a bike shop in Bermuda, all to avoid paying taxes in Canada, a bike shop. The Prime Minister is dodging a simple question, so I will ask it again. How much money does he have in offshore tax havens? Just a number, please.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, on April 28th, Canadians had a choice between a leader with world and business experience versus a leader with no experience outside of this House. Canadians spoke loud and clear. They elected a leader that's going to build Canada, invest in Canada. They elected a leader that's going to make Canada the strongest economy in the G7. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister refuses to come clean about his offshore tax havens. Meanwhile, he lectures young Canadians that they need to sacrifice more. Well, after 10 years of these Liberals, they can't afford food, they can't afford rent, they have nothing left to give. So when will the Prime Minister park his hypocrisy, come clean, and tell us how much cash he has stashed in offshore tax havens?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Mr. Speaker, while the party opposite is focused on their leader, we're focused on Canada. We're focused on building our economy, the strongest in the G7. Mr. Speaker.
I couldn't hear. So if the Honourable Secretary of State would like to start from the top, that would be ideal.
Start from the top.
Mr. Speaker, the party opposite has had a bad week. We understand that. They're focused on their leader and they're focused on a revolting caucus. But on this side of the House, we are focused on building Canada. We are focused on investing in Canada. On November 4th, we will come forth with a budget that will invest, build, and build our economy into the strongest into the G7. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Terrebonne. Mr. Speaker, we have the industries, the innovators, and the workers ready to deliver the advanced technologies that our armed forces and our allies need, from aerospace to cyber systems. Can the Minister of Government Transformation please explain to the House how Buy Canadian will ensure that federal procurement supports the development of a strong Canadian defence and security industry, that it strengthens our supply chains and builds a more resilient and prosperous economy for all Canadians? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for Terrebonne, and I'm very happy to say that to the Member for Terrebonne, happy to see her with us here in this House, and I thank her for her excellent question, Mr. Speaker. It's an excellent question because I know that there are a lot of businesses in her riding for whom it's important that we buy Canadian. What does it mean to buy Canadian? It means that we prioritize Canadian businesses, that we have requirements for Canadian content. It means helping SMEs so that they can participate in federal procurement. It means supporting Canadian businesses in aerospace, in naval construction, in AI, in manufacturing. And Mr. Speaker, we're going to go forward because we know that contracts are always better than handouts.
The facade has been exposed. The Prime Minister's claim of being a master negotiator is pure fiction. Every time the Prime Minister meets with foreign leaders, it's Canadian farmers who suffer the consequences. Now India has slapped a 30% tariffs on Canadian yellow peas. This is when farmers are already suffering from crippling tariffs from China on peas, canola, beef, seafood, pork, and other commodities. Now India has taken another step, and every time the Prime Minister travels, it's farmers who feel the pain. So why is it that Canadian farmers are the ones paying the price for the Prime Minister's vanity tour?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, numerous times I have reiterated in this House the importance of diversifying Canada's supply chains. Over the past number of months, I have spoken with my counterpart in Pakistan. Pakistan is one of the world's largest importers of canola. This morning, he confirmed to me that Pakistan will open its doors to Canadian canola. In fact, he confirmed to me that orders have already been placed for Canadian canola. This is great news for Canadian farmers, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we will build Canada strong.
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
Thanks to the Liberal trade failures, now 80% of Canada's pea markets are facing tariffs. That is the fact. Every time this Prime Minister travels, it's Canadian farmers who are suffering the consequences. Let's look at the Liberal scoreboard. In China, 100% tariffs on Canadian peas and canola, 25% on pork and seafood, and Canadian beef has been blocked since 2021. United Kingdom does not take Canadian beef and pork. Meanwhile, imports from the United Kingdom in beef has skyrocketed. Now India slapped a 30% tariff on Canadian peas and 10% on lentils. Will the Prime Minister stop the photo ops and get tariff relief for Canadian farmers who are just trying to feed?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to reiterate that we are actively making sure that countries hear the interests of Canadian farmers, Canadian suppliers, Canadian producers. Not only is Pakistan opening its doors to Canadian canola, I raised potash and canola, agriculture and seafood in my recent trip to the Indo-Pacific, and the governments with whom I spoke assured me that we will continue to work together to build economic supply chains across the Indo-Pacific, which is why the Prime Minister is in the region right now.
The Honourable Member for Souris Moose Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, prairie farmers don't want handouts. They want a trade deal. China's unfair tariffs on Canadian canola have cost billions of dollars and punished our producers. The canola sector is bigger than Canada's steel, aluminum, and auto sectors combined. Yet this government, they treat it like an afterthought. Now the Prime Minister is in China meeting with President Xi. Will he finally reach a deal to lift these punishing tariffs or come back once again empty-handed, proving that when it comes to standing up for Canadian farmers, this Prime Minister is all talk and no trade?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Canola farmers produce the best canola in the world. And we know China has imposed unfair tariffs on canola. We're working on it. The Prime Minister and the Minister of Agriculture is currently in Asia, diversified our trade, but also resolving dispute resolution. And Pakistan now opens the door to our canola. But in the meantime, Mr. Speaker, we will be there for our farmers with programs to support them during this difficult time, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Mississauga Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Merci, Monsieur le Président. There are now less than 100 days until the 2026 Milano Cortina Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games. Our government recognizes that athlete health and well-being are foundational to performance, and we want all of Team Canada to know when you're representing the country we all love, we have your backs. Can my good friend and colleague, the Secretary of State for Sport, share how our government is supporting Team Canada Olympic and Paralympic athletes and their coaches? And while I have the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, let's go Blue Jays.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Sport.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On Monday, I announced more than $3 million of an investment in mental health for athletes to support the Canadian Olympic and Paralympic institutes and networks across our country, supported by the Canadian Olympic Committee and the Paralympic Committee. And, Mr. Speaker, we're also supporting Game Plan, the Canadian National Team Total Wellness Program. These investments are critical because our government knows health and mental health and overall well-being are foundational to the performance and the success for our national team athletes in sport and in life. Mr. Speaker, Canadians are proud of our athletes and teams with the 2026 Winter Paralympic and Olympic Games coming up, fast approaching. Canada's new government is committed to supporting Team Canada.
The Honourable Member for Elgin, St. Thomas, London South.
Mr. Speaker, Canadian youth are struggling, but Liberal elites have never had it so good. Youth unemployment is at 15%. Young people are writing off the dream of home ownership as simply a fantasy. But the gravy train is chugging along for the Prime Minister's friends. 79% of Export Development Canada executives cashed in bonuses averaging $143,000 each. BDC executives got bonuses averaging $216,000 each. The Prime Minister's housing agency paid out over $30 million in bonuses. Will the Prime Minister ask his elite Liberal insider friends to make sacrifices instead of young Canadians?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, little known fact because it wasn't exactly a bestseller, but that man was Pierre Poilievre's, the leader of the opposition's biographer.
His biographer? Wow.
Now, that would mean that he knows some intimate secrets about the leader of the opposition. What I suggest is that he walk down a few stairs, talk to his boss, tell the leader of the opposition, that Grinchy guy, don't steal Christmas from our kids, don't cause a Christmas election, vote for this budget that's going to help Canadian youth and build the best economy in the G7.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister says he wants to make generational investments in nation-building projects. New Democrats agree. We also know that a healthy economy needs a healthy workforce. The NDP pioneered dental care and pharmacare because they deliver essential primary health care to Canadians. We believe every Canadian should have head-to-toe health care regardless of their ability to pay. Will the Liberals acknowledge that universal public health care is nation-building and reflect that principle in their budget next week?
The Honourable Minister of Health. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague from the opposition for his question. You know, I am the Minister of Health, and my role is first and foremost to defend the Canada Health Act. So I can guarantee to my colleague that before and after the budget, certainly we will defend universal health care for Canadians. Thank you.
Member for Vancouver East.
Deep cuts are being planned for the arts and culture sector in the upcoming budget. Festival and events could lose $22.5 million, reducing their funding to 2007 levels. The Canada Arts Council could face a $50 million cut. Arts and culture not only feed our soul, they are a major economic driver, contributing $65 billion to Canada's GDP in 2024, generating $17 billion in federal and provincial tax revenue. Funding should be increased to support these made-in-Canada jobs. Will the Minister of Finance scrap these cuts?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture.
For her question, in fact, between 2015 and 2024, this government has doubled the funding for the arts and culture sector in this country. We have doubled the funding for the Canada Arts Council. We will continue to be there for our artists and for our cultural sector, Mr. Speaker.
I would like to draw the attention of members to the presence in the gallery of the Honourable Barb Ramsey, Minister of Social Development and Seniors for the province of Prince Edward Island. John?
Well, that was the question period for today. Oh, let's get rid of the sound. There we go. All right. Well, thanks for all coming out. Please leave us a comment and like, share, subscribe. Again, comments drive the algorithm, and we will end the show with the little video I slapped together this morning after being impacted by veterans' statements, being a veteran myself. So please enjoy, and we will be back tomorrow morning, earlier, after Blazing Cat Fur. We're on Blazing Cat Fur Fridays at 9 o'clock, followed by the last episode of the Nap for the week at 10:30, because they do question period earlier tomorrow. All right, let's get into the next scene. See you next time. Thanks for coming out. Bye. Appreciate it.
From your testimony, what you've shared a bit of what we've heard from other witnesses about sanctuary trauma, where the organization is supposed to be there to help you, whether you're an RCMP officer or a military veteran. Could you please expand on what your experience has been with that yourself?
Yeah. So I think whether you're Canadian Armed Forces or RCMP, you take an oath, and it's a very deep thing. It's life-changing. And you commit yourself on a level that no other employee is expected to commit themselves. And you do so with the understanding that it is service that is taken very seriously by this country. You're going to do unbelievable things for your country. And the result is that you're going to be supported when you inevitably have unbelievable damage from that commitment for the good of your country. So with that comes an expectation that we accept we have these injuries, and we turn to somewhere like Veterans Affairs to try make us healthy once we've left, and to have your service judged, to have your injury judged or questioned, and to not have any support in your options. It feels very much like you receive a check once a month to compensate for the damage caused to you, and that is all you're going to get for the rest of your life. When all we really want is support to try get us to a healthy place where we can be a new form of employee, where we can be a healthy parent, where we can be a healthy spouse.
Thank you. That was an amazing
My name is Gilles, and I'm a veteran of 38 years in the Canadian Armed Forces. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and before I could get any help, we were pushed out because we refused an injurious injection, causing a moral injury on top of the PTSD. As a result, I was incapable of tapping into any benefits whatsoever after being released. Because of this moral injury, I was quite beside myself and really wasn't able to even partially come out of it until very recently in this year, when I finally was able to start making some videos, whereby I explained in the very first video that you'll see inserted here, linked below, what they did to us in the Canadian Armed Forces. What this woman explains here in this video is the very reason why so many of us have given up even trying to contact the VA and feel that our country, Canada, has abandoned us. In fact, Canada, the Liberals have abandoned your country because of what they are doing to your people that gave of themselves, that served their country, and have been treated and continue to be treated like this. What are we on? The 8th Veterans Affairs Minister? They are a joke. The Liberals are a joke. If you don't have a military, Canada, someone will bring one in for you. This is how you're treating your veterans. This is how you're treating your Canadian Armed Forces members when you release them. Good luck, Canada. I hope this tanks your recruiting, because you are destroying people's lives. The Liberals are a death cult, and they don't care about you, and they don't care about their Canadian Armed Forces members. Please listen to her testimony. It's from today. And every day, we veterans are reminded how much Liberals are traitors to your country and to we veterans, period.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. I wear many hats in relation to this issue and will attempt to speak to all of them in this short time. I am a veteran with post-traumatic stress disorder and depression. I was a civilian member intelligence analyst of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and spent most of my service working on homicides and national security. My PTSD from the trauma exposure is real, but many times it was discounted in comparison to Canadian Armed Forces service or regular members of the RCMP. This included comments from Veterans Affairs employees stating that I am taking away resources from veterans who have lost limbs. My experience was consistent that mental health injuries are not treated or respected the same way as physical ones. I can echo much of the testimony you've heard about processes being difficult to navigate and taking too much time. My initial decision took about a year, which is actually very good. And I needed the assistance of Bureau of Pension Advocates, which is a fantastic service, to receive a fair decision a couple of years later. Once I began having children, I realized that PTSD in either parent makes for added challenges during childbirth. At the recommendation of my psychologist and midwife, I applied to Veterans Affairs to cover a doula to help manage my PTSD during childbirth. This is a readily provided support with a call. After a 5-minute conversation, they could all understand how little I was asking for and how much benefit it would provide. However, processes reign. I applied in fall 2024. I provided my rationale. I provided medical documentation. I provided research papers attesting to the benefit for PTSD. I looked into any possible healthcare professional that could assess me and verify my claim, but I lived in the North, so my options were limited. I'm awaiting the result of my final level of appeal, and my daughter was born over 6 months ago. I walked in to meet with a Veterans Affairs representative just days before I went into labor. They suggested that the local Legion pay. This is charity I was not comfortable taking. I sought assistance from the Bureau of Pension Advocates, and they provided helpful advice for my appeals, but said they can't help with treatment benefits. I believe this to be a major gap. This one story is exactly the type of battle and weight that veterans and families face when seeking support from Veterans Affairs for service injuries or death. To sum it up, it's onerous, isolating, adversarial, and damaging. I am also the spouse of a veteran. To respect his privacy, I won't be sharing much about my personal experience in this regard. However, almost every day, I grieve for my husband before his injury, and I fight to support him and maintain my own health while doing so. I am unique in that I have back treatment benefits for my own service injury. These end up covering my mental health needs as a spouse. I have the treatment that many other family members need and deserve. Regular sessions with a psychologist experienced with PTSD and policing has gotten me through unbelievable circumstances. I've accessed counselors through VAC Assistance Service who describe my family as in crisis, and that they don't know how to help us when we're just surviving. I am also a mother. I see the impact of our service already on my very young children. I worry about their ability to access mental health care in their own right one day. I also think it's important to note that you're hearing from survivors and spouses, but the experience of children is lacking to date. I am the co-administrator of an informal support group for spouses of RCMP members and veterans with PTSD. Our group has approximately 700 members. I invited others to testify before you, but the stigma is still significant, so you'll hear from myself and Jessica Ruth only, despite strong following and support for this issue from the group. Until spouses find the group, many feel isolated and are in complete disbelief what their life has become. Divorce is all too common of an outcome, and other women have lived with decades of abuse as they attempt to honor in sickness and in health. The point I would like to make is that almost every unbelievable story is accompanied by multiple responses saying, "I completely understand and have been through similar," and then recommending counseling. Not only do we have the role of caregiver to our veteran, but we often have the absence of a caregiver, as the veteran may struggle with the capacity to provide the typical support of a spouse. It is not sufficient to fund mental health care for spouses as a caregiver. Most of the spouses I've met struggled with their members' PTSD before the member accepted their condition. Most have struggled when their member or veteran refused further treatment. Many still struggle after divorce. Mental health care in their own right can be a lifeline for the veteran's well-being and can help their family to be healthy and continue to contribute to our communities in their own way as nurses, teachers, social workers, and other important roles. Finally, I am the organizer of petition E6654 and co-organizer of improving mental health care for families and survivors of CAF and RCMP. The petition was inspired by Jessica Ruth, who you heard from. What we're asking for is something the veteran ombudsman recommended for nearly a decade: service-related mental health treatment for families in their own right. It's unconscionable that families are still waiting to be offered more than short-term counseling and lip service when they contribute so significantly to veteran well-being and often provide support to the veteran well beyond their years of service. The veteran community is watching. We are encouraged to see senators asking the minister about progress on this recommendation. Yet we experience more sanctuary trauma when the question is answered repeatedly with a simple, "There is more for us to do." I've received more informed answers from MPs on and off this committee. It's easy to say the minister is new, but we all know there is a team of professionals behind her that are meant to prepare her for these questions. The bureaucracy continues to fail veterans and their families. True prevention would start with a similar study focusing on RCMP and CAF individually. For the purposes of Veterans Affairs, though, I want to leave you with the simple answer to suicide prevention and answer 2 questions asked by members of this committee already. MP August, you've been asking for innovative approaches to preventing suicide. Sadly, VAC hasn't even figured out the basics yet. It's so fundamental that the experts don't mention it. Fund mental health treatment for families independent of the veteran before death so they have the skills and capacity to support the veteran. MP Wagenthal, you asked if there is anything you should be doing immediately to help. Provide mental health treatment to families before suicide so they can help their veteran. Fund mental health care after the veteran's death so that the suicide effects don't ripple through families, as we know they do. Thank you.
On a side note, I actually did contact Veterans Affairs last week, asking them to have somebody call me so I can get some help for mental health. Still waiting for a call back. It's been over a week.